Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear participants. Welcome to this session of textual study of the Quran. Today we will be starting off with chapter 2 of the Quran. We finished the last chapter, which is the first chapter, last week, and we have discussed this many times that the Quran is composed of 7 distinct chapters. Each chapter has a theme. Within a chapter, the surahs are arranged in pairs, and the Meccan surahs, they always precede the Medinan surahs. Normally we have paired phenomena with regard to every surah, but there are some unique surahs as well which do not have a counterpart. So for example, in our previous chapter, which was chapter number 1, Surah Fatiha did not have a counterpart, and it was the only Meccan surah. The remaining 4 were the Medinan surahs. This chapter, which is chapter number 2, it starts off with Surah Anam, the surah that we are going to start today. Its counterpart is Surah Araf, so both these two form a pair, and these two are Meccan surahs. The next 2 surahs, Anfal and Tawbah, they are the Medinan surahs, and they also form a pair. The theme, I would say, of this chapter, as has been propounded by Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi, is conclusive communication of the truth, al-haq, as the Quran says, to the Quraysh, and tazkiyah and tathir, which is a special term of the Quran, which means that their collective and individual purification and separation from the disbelievers of the Muslims. So the tazkiyah and tathir of the Muslims is the other facet of this theme. The first was conclusive communication of the truth to the Quraysh, and then we have a manifestation of the worldly judgment of the denominations that were present in front of the Prophet, of course the people of the book, the hypocrites and the idolaters, at the end of this chapter, which of course is found in the last surah, which is Surah Tawbah. I'm just going to read out a very brief discussion of how Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi has introduced this chapter to you, so that you are able to gauge his own point of view. So he says, this is the second chapter of the Quran. It consists of 4 surahs from Al-An'am to Tawbah, which I just discussed. It is evident from the topics of these surahs that the first 2 are Meccan and the next 2 are Medinan. Its addressees in the Meccan surahs are the Quraysh. So in Surah Anam and Surah Araf, it is basically the Quraysh that have been addressed, and in the Medinan ones, the Muslims have been addressed. If the people of the book are addressed anywhere, Ustaz says, then it is in a secondary way. The basis of reasoning in the Meccan surahs is mostly from the signs found in human intellect and nature and in the world around and within a human being, and that of around him, of course, and from the established facts of history. So this is how the reasoning pattern goes in this surah. This is because they are not only correct, but the Quraysh also accepted them, because these are the signs and these are the facts which the Quraysh also accepted. The nature of the paired phenomena of these surahs is discussed by Ustaz in a very profound way, also in a very compact way as well. So he says that the nature of these 2 surahs, of course we are starting Surah Anam, so its counterpart is Surah Araf. So he says that the facts that are validated in Surah Anam on the basis of human intellect and nature are validated in the second surah on the basis of historical arguments. So the nature of this paired phenomena is that the reasoning pattern is different. In Surah Anam, the reasoning is through human intellect and nature, and in Surah Araf, the reasoning pattern is more historical. And then he says that the aspect of preaching is dominant in Surah Anam, and of warning is more evident in Surah Araf. And he also says that both surahs address the Quraysh. Of course, that is something that we have already discussed, and it is evident from their topics that they are revealed in Mecca in the phases of warning or increased warning, enhanced warning, that is generally what we call it. It's called Inzar-e-Am, and conclusive communication of the truth. So basically, these surahs are divided into 2. As far as Surah Anam is concerned, it is revealed in the phase of Inzar-e-Am, and as far as Surah Araf is concerned, it is revealed in the phase of Itmam al-Hujjah. So this is a distinction, of course, that has to be understood, and that is why you'll find the element of warning much enhanced in Surah Araf, because of course it has been revealed at the time of the phase of Itmam al-Hujjah. And then Ustaz says that as far as the theme of Surah Anam is concerned, it is to explain to the Quraysh the basic issues of monotheism, prophethood, and the hereafter, to warn them on their misconceptions regarding these issues, and to invite them to profess faith in pure monotheism. So remember, the Quraysh are addressed in both these two surahs, Anam and Araf, and in particular in Surah Anam, they are invited to the creed of monotheism, something that they started off with when they were settled, the Bani Ismail, when they were settled, of course, in the land of Mecca. It was much later when polytheism had infiltrated in their ranks. The second surah is Surah Araf, and of course, the theme of Surah Araf, according to Ustaz, is to warn the Quraysh and to explain to them the ramifications and corollaries of the advent of a messenger of God in a nation, and the consequences of a nation which a nation necessarily faces if it insists on rejecting the messenger. So clearly you can see that this is how the contents have been divided. So this background is absolutely essential for you to gauge before we actually begin studying the surah in its orderly way. So now we come to studying the surah, of course, and we'll start off with the very first verse, of course. And so the words are, Alhamdulillahi allazi khalaqa as-samawati wal ard wa ja'ala adh-dhulumati wan nur summa allazina kafaru bi rabbihim ya'dilun. Gratitude is for God alone, who made the heavens and the earth, created light and expansive darkness. Then it is strange that these disbelievers set up deities with their Lord. The very first word of this surah, Alhamd, of course, is not it's not alien to you. It's something which has been commonly used in the Quran. In the Arabic language, it is used to acknowledge the qualities and excellence of someone. And if the person who expresses this word also benefits from these qualities and this excellence, then the element of gratitude automatically enters the meaning of the word. So this is the research which Ustaz Amin Hassan Islahi has done, and Ustaz Ghamidi has actually recited it and said that purely in its pristine concept, the word Alhamd means to acknowledge someone's qualities of excellence and greatness. But when those qualities of excellence and greatness, they are beneficial for the speaker who is using this word, then an element of gratitude automatically enters this word. And therefore here actually the proper translation would be Alhamdulillahi allazi, that gratitude be for God, because now we are expressing our sentiments towards God, and because the excellence and qualities of God, we are benefiting from those qualities. So therefore what is being said is that God, it's not just that we praise you, we actually express our gratitude for all that you have done for us. And as you can clearly see, some of the elements of nature have been set up here. Allazi khalaqa as-samawati wal arda wa ja'ala adh-dhulumati wan nur. So God has created the heavens and the earth and darkness and night. And then it says that summa allazina kafaru bi rabbihim ya'dilun. It is strange that these disbelievers have set up deities with their Lord. The argument which is presented here is, of course, based on a fact acknowledged by the idolaters of Arabia. And this is what the Quran is presented here. When they regarded God to be the creator of the heavens and the earth, darkness and light. So God says that how strange is it that they have been audacious enough to set up other deities with him, when they think that, God has created the heavens and the earth, because this is something that they acknowledged. Night and day, heavens and the earth have been expressed as the creation of God by the idolaters. So one aspect of expressing wonder at polytheism is that when everything has been created by God, from where has the possibility of polytheism even arisen? And another aspect is that in the apparent conflict found in the opposing elements of nature, to fulfill a higher objective, there exists a tremendous harmony between them as well. So although night and day, they are temperamentally different, but they work in harmony. Similar is the case with the heavens and the earth. So how can they have different creators? So in fact, every person of insight is compelled, if it sees this tremendous harmony between conflicting elements of nature, to accept the fact that this universe is working on the basis of a single aim and a single intent. And then it says, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ قَضَى أَجَلًا وَأَجَلٌ مُسَمًّى عِنْدَهُ ثُمَّ أَنْتُمْ تَمْتَرُونَ. It is He who has created you from clay, then decreed a term for you, and another one is also decreed with Him. It is strange that even after this you engage in quibbling. So, of course, another one is also decreed with Him. What does this mean? That the implication is that the same God who has created human beings from clay is the one who has created everything else. They also know that each individual has been prescribed a time to live. If they understand this, if people observe that human beings, they are born and they die, then how can they doubt that the God who has created them the first time without any difficulty can create them a second time as well from this very clay? If there is a term of each of them after which they will die, there is another term for each of them after which they will be raised to life again. So that is what is meant here. And see how the natural process of reasoning flows so beautifully. The elements of nature, they are used as arguments. The heavens and the earth, the day and night, the things that the idolaters already acknowledge, they have been placed before them, and now they are confounded with this reasoning of the Quran. So the Quran says that, if this is something that you understand, then you should know that there is a term for you in this world, and then there will be a term for you when you will be raised up to life again before the Almighty. وَهُوَ الَّذِي فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَفِي الْأَرْضِ يَعْلَمُ سِرَّكُمْ وَجَهْرَكُمْ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا تَكْسِبُونَ. So it means the very God who is in the heavens and the earth also, He has knowledge of what you conceal and also what you reveal, and also knows what you are earning. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا تَكْسِبُونَ. So if this attitude of theirs is founded on the fact that the earth is run by some other God, and if they worship these gods, the latter will be able to secure salvation for them in the hereafter. If this is what they think, then they should remove this misconception. This is what this verse cautions and prods them. The God of both heavens and the earth is the same, and He is governing both. All their apparent and hidden circumstances are in His notice. No one can dare increase God's knowledge. They should be on guard that no one can wrongly intercede for anyone before Him. So He knows what is before them, He knows what is after them, He knows what they conceal, and He knows what they reveal, and He knows what they earn. So this is an expression of the complete knowledge of God, without which you will all agree passing judgment in a perfect way is virtually impossible. So that is why these attributes of God, which actually delineate this perfect knowledge of God, is depicted. وَمَا يَأْتِيهِم مِّنْ آيَةٍ مِّنْ آيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ إِلَّا كَانُوا عَنْهَا مُعْرِضِينَ. Such are these people that whatever sign from the signs of their Lord comes to them, they ignore it. Whatever signs come to them, they ignore it. فَقَدْ كَذَّبُوا بِالْحَقِّ لَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ. Thus now also they have denied the truth when it has come to them. So very soon the news of what they have been making fun of will come to them. So فَقَدْ كَذَّبُوا بِالْحَقِّ لَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ. Now also they have done the same. So this has been their practice, that they keep on denying whatever sign is shown to them. And when it is said that they have denied once again, what is that denial? Denying the Quran actually. So when it is said فَقَدْ كَذَّبُوا بِالْحَقِّ, it actually means that they have denied the truth, which is the Quran. They have denied the Quran because they have a habit of denial, and they have a habit of making fun of whatever comes to them. So فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِيهِمْ أَنْبَاءُ مَا كَانُوا بِهِ يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. So very soon the news of what they have been making fun of will come to them, which means because they have been making fun of the fact that the Prophet has come with a new guidance, so this is going to work against them. The punishment of God with which every messenger has threatened his respective people, that is what is implied here. When messengers of God are sent to people in this world, then their direct addressees, they face a law of God in which they are either punished in this world or rewarded, and this punishment and this reward is going to continue in the land of Barzakh and ultimately also in the hereafter. أَلَمْ يَرَوْا كَمْ أَهْلَكْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ مِنْ قَرْنٍ مَكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَا لَمْ نُمَكِّنْ لَكُمْ وَأَرْسَلْنَا السَّمَاءَ عَلَيْهِمْ مِدْرَارًا وَجَعَلَ الْأَنْهَارَ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهِمْ فَأَهْلَكْنَاهُمْ بِذُنُوبِهِمْ وَأَنْشَأْنَا مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ قَوْمًا آخَرِينَ. So Have they not seen how many nations we have destroyed before them, whom we granted such authority in the land, which we have not granted you, O Prophet, O people of the Quraysh? So, once again, this is referring to the nations of the previous prophets, how they were given authority and how they were destroyed. And the details of this destruction, as has been pointed out by Ustaz, will be revealed in Surah Araf, which is the counterpart of this surah. You see, this counterpart phenomena is one in which the second surah complements or supplements the first surah. So here, for example, in this particular passage, we find a very brief reference to the fact that the nations to whom messengers of God were sent, they were destroyed in this world. That's just a hint that has been mentioned here. But in Surah Araf, which is the counterpart of this surah, we will find a very detailed account of each and every nation, how messengers came to them, how they delivered the truth, and how their people persisted in stubbornness of denial. So that is how we will come to know that the details which are found in one surah have been actually found in a very concise form in the other one. So as we also know that nations to whom God's messengers are sent, for them the decision is made in this world, and that is precisely what the Quran has said, that at times this destruction takes place through the elements of nature. Like, for example, here it is said, وَأَرْسَلْنَا السَّمَاءَ عَلَيْهِمْ مِدْرَارًا, devastating rain was sent upon them, وَجَعَلْنَا الْأَنْهَارَ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهِمْ, and abundant rain was showered over them, and He made rivers flow below them, but they're insisting on denying. So what happened? فَأَهْلَكْنَاهُمْ, and so we destroyed them because of their sins. So the words are فَأَهْلَكْنَاهُمْ بِذُنُوبِهِمْ وَأَنْشَأْنَا مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ قَرْنًا آخَرِينَ. We destroyed them and after them raised up other nations in their place. So this is like a cycle that went on for a very long period of time. You see, if you look at the history of messengerhood, you'll see that from the very start, from Prophet Adam to Prophet Muhammad, which is a very large part of history, human history. If you can look at the map of human history, you'll see that this period between Adam and Muhammad, peace be upon them, it occupies a very, very vast time. And from Prophet Muhammad's departure up till now, it's like 2,100 years. And so, or even less than that, it's 1,500 years. And these 1,500 years, you can see, are the ones that have been spent in an area or in an era in which messengers don't come. So a very large part of time consisted of those chunks of time in which messengers of God had addressed their nations and they were destroyed in this world. But these 1,500 years are the only exception in which these messengers have not come. And the very salient feature of the first era of humankind, which can be called the prophetic era, is the one that nations, they are punished and rewarded in this world. And this is precisely what these words of Surah An'am state, فَأَهْلَكْنَاهُمْ بِذُنُوبِهِمْ. We destroyed them in this world because of their sins, and then we raised other nations in their place. And then it is said, وَلَوْ نَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ كِتَابًا فِي قِرْطَاسٍ فَلَمَسُوهُ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ لَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا سِحْرٌ مُبِينٌ. If we had revealed to you, O Prophet, a book that was written on paper, and they were also able to touch it with their own hands, even then these disbelievers would still have said, this is but plain magic. So you can imagine the audacity of these people, that if a book which was written would have been sent down and they would have been able to touch it, instead of accepting it, even then they would have said that this is plain magic. Now the reason for their aversion, which in other words would mean, is not the one they cite. It's not the fact that they would like to believe if they are shown something. The fact is that they do not want to hear anything which is against their desires. So even if this wish of theirs is granted, they will continue to put up such excuses. And it also must be accepted that in response to a demand that was similarly made by the people of the book, that was mentioned in verse 153. This is something which is very similar. We have found in Surah Nisa also that they wanted that they would like to see a messenger of God coming down, or they wanted a book of God coming down, and then they would believe. So the Almighty is telling the Prophet, is reassuring them that it is not that he is falling short in his delivery. It is that these people have bent upon, they are bent upon rejecting him, not because they have a reason, it is because of their own arrogance. So on the one hand, it's like a warning sounded to the Quraysh, and on the other hand, it's an assurance to Prophet Muhammad that he need not worry that he is falling short. That's not the case. وَقَالُوا لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْهِ مَلَكٌ وَلَوْ أَنزَلْنَا مَلَكًا لَقُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ ثُمَّ لَا يُنظَرُونَ. They say, why was not an angel openly sent down to this prophet? These fools do not understand that if we had sent down an angel, a verdict would have been delivered by now, and they would not have been given any respite. They would not have been given any respite. Now, this again is a reference, I would say, to the established practice of God, which has been discussed, even now and in several of our earlier sessions, that this world has been created to test the knowledge and intellect, intention and will of people. When the veil will be lifted and people will see the reality with their own eyes, professing faith will be of no avail to anyone. Only faith which is professed without seeing God, merely on the basis of evidence drawn from intellect and human nature, is acceptable. Something to which all prophets of God call their own nations to. Instead of demanding miracles, they should see and look around their own selves and within themselves, and they will see plenty of these signs. And if they would like an angel to come down and give and make them realize that he is an angel of God, then they should remember angels don't come down for this purpose. When they come, they pronounce the verdict of God, and then they would be, of course, facing the music. وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ مَلَكًا لَجَعَلْنَاهُ رَجُلًا وَلَلَبَسْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ مَا يَلْبِسُونَ. And if they do not understand that if we had sent him as an angel, we would have sent him in the form of a human as well. So again, this was something that they would always raise it as an objection. This is because human beings can only see him when he's in the form of a human being, and then benefit from them. So even if the prophet was sent as an angel, of course in the garb of an angel, وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ مَلَكًا لَجَعَلْنَاهُ رَجُلًا. He could not have been sent in as an angel, because angels are not visible to human beings. So in that case also, he would have been sent as a human being. If their own demand of an angel coming down had been accepted, God says, even then he would have sent not an angel but a human being who would be, an angel who would be disguised as a human being or in the garb of a human being, and so the confusion would still remain. And how could this ever be satisfactory for them? وَلَقَدْ اسْتُهْزِئَ بِرُسُلٍ مِّن قَبْلِكَ فَحَاقَ بِالَّذِينَ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا بِهِ يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. So this means, and in this way they would have been inflicted, they would have inflicted them with the very doubt they are now in. In reality, before you also messengers were made fun of. So these people were surrounded by what they would make fun of. So this is like saying that people who do this are ultimately caught up in their own deeds. What they are demanding, the fun that they are making, the mockery that they are doing, ultimately surrounds them. Because it's not because of any want of evidence that they are denying. It's not that they are in any confusion that they are denying or not accepting. It's not because something is not clear to them. All these happenings, or all these wants, to say it in another word, all these gaps have been filled by God, by messenger, in a way that there was absolutely no doubt about the truth. It is only because of their arrogance that they did not accept. So that is why what they are making fun of is ultimately going to reflect on their own fate, and they will be destroyed. Kul siru fil ard summanzuru kayfa kana aqibatul mukazzibin. Tell them, just roam about in the land to see the fate of those who disbelieved. So of course the Quran is telling them that all that they need to do is look at the people or the nations of the previous prophets. We know earlier on, before Prophet Muhammad, several prophets came in that area, and the Arabs very well knew all these prophets. So that is why, it was known history to them. They knew what happened to the people of Lot. They knew what happened to the people of Shoaib, or the people of Madian, as has been described, or to the people of Saleh or the people of Hud. So all these ancient nations, they lived in an area about whose history was very well known to the Arabs, and that is why they are told, Siru fil ard, go and find out what has happened. I mean, you look at the remains of these destroyed nations, and you'll find that their remains speak so loud, and they tell their story. And if you look at this whole import with a fleeting eye, with an insight, you will understand how deep these ruins are speaking and how deep they are taking humankind to. So, كل من ما في السماوات والأرض قل الله كتب على نفسه الرحمة ليجمعنكم إلى يوم القيامة لا ريب فيه الذين خسروا أنفسهم فهم لا يؤمنون. Ask them, to whom belongs all that is in the heavens and the earth? Say, to God alone. He has made mercy mandatory on himself. After gathering all of you, he shall definitely take you to the day of judgment, about which there is no doubt. Only those who have inflicted themselves with loss do not believe in it. So, the style of answering a question without actually answering it is something which is adopted when the addressee has nothing to say. So when it is said that who is going to do this and who does that, and the answer is not given, or the answer is given which is obvious, then it actually tells us that the addressee, of course, knows the answer already. So it's like adding insult to injury, or making the person realize. It's like cornering that person. And the other important thing which is mentioned here is that the day of judgment has been mentioned in a way that should catch our eyes and attention. It says, the Quran says that the day of judgment is something that will be brought about so that God's mercy can manifest itself in the perfect way. لَيَجْمَعَنَّكُمْ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. So this means that the advent of God's day of judgment is a necessary consequence of God's mercy. It's His rahmah, kataba ala nafsi rahmah, that my mercy, because of my mercy, I have made it mandatory upon myself to create this day, because on that day my mercy will manifest itself in its perfect form. The absence, if this day does not arrive, or the absence of such a day, would only mean that the creator of this universe is neither most gracious nor ever merciful. It would mean that God forbid, to him justice and injustice, virtue and vice, good and evil, they occupy the same status, because both are going unchecked, or both are going in a way that you just cannot make any moral law out of them. This world is a place of entertainment and unrestrained actions. That will be the conclusion that a person can draw. But, however, all this is obviously baseless, and it is known, and we know that God is gracious and merciful. He does not do something without a purpose. So therefore, His mercy is going to bring about that day, which will be the day of judgment, in which the pious will be, of course, rewarded, and the people who are wrongdoers, they will be punished. So the Quran has made it very clear that only those who have inflicted themselves with loss do not believe in it, and therefore they have to understand الَّذِينَ خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. I mean, those who have inflicted themselves with loss do not believe in it. So this is actually a statement that is explained, as Ustaz Ghamidi says, further ahead in the surah, to be precise, it's verse 31, as to how severely these losers will show regret on the day of judgment, and how hopelessly they will be driven towards hell, and while bearing the burden of their sins, they'll realize now that it's now too late. And then وَلَهُ مَا سَكَنَ فِي اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. In reality, whatever is stationed in the night or moves in the day is under His control alone, and He hears all and knows all. So once again, it has been seen that God, when He says that He is Sami'ul Alim, it means that His power and knowledge are all embracing. Nothing can defy Him in the night or day. Whenever He wants, He will call everyone from everywhere and gather them in His presence. Because He has complete knowledge, judgment will be passed with full perfection. Perfect justice will manifest itself. And everything will then vouch for the fact, whether human or any other life form, they will vouch for the fact that whatever fate has now been ordained for them is absolutely in accordance with justice. So with this, we will leave our lesson here in the first 13 verses. Inshallah, we'll carry on with the literal and idiomatic translation in a while. And until that time, you can ask questions.
Will the people from non-prophetic days be punished in barzakh or rewarded?
No, they will not. That is what we have been clarifying all through our sessions, that people who live in the post-prophetic era, the era that spans from Prophet Muhammad's departure until the Day of Judgment, they will be put to sleep. Their account is deferred to the Day of Judgment. They will be raised on the Day of Judgment. Their account will be settled at that time, and then they will be rewarded or punished. So this is the protocol regarding people who live in the post-prophetic era. In the prophetic era, I mean, of course, it's the opposite. People who live in the times of God's prophets of God, they are rewarded and punished in this world. This reward and punishment is going to continue at the land of barzakh, in the land of barzakh, and still continue in the hereafter. For them, it's like a threefold thing. But for people who are living in the post-prophetic era, because their account is not settled in this world, their account is always settled in the next world. And why is that? Because settling an account needs the presence of a messenger. What does he do? He removes any objections. He clarifies the truth to such an extent that there is no confusion. But when a messenger of God is not there, the chance of confusion cannot be ruled out. Hence, for them, their account is not settled in this world and it is deferred. So, this is something very, very important to understand when you're studying the Quran.
One of the questions is, are Quraysh Jews or Christians?
Are Quraysh Jews and Christians? They are neither. They belong to the Bani Ismail. They are from the progeny of the Prophet Ishmael, who was, of course, the son of Abraham.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Ruhi Rasul, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Sir, what is the difference between the words walakad and wakad?
So the lam adds more stress to it, more emphasis. Waqad is a simple form and walaqad is a more emphasized form.
Thank you very much. Shabnam, please go ahead.
जी थैंक यू मरियम सर ये आपने कहा अभी कि ये कौम लूत आद समूद और ये साले की कौम को वो जानते थे दे वर फेमिलियर विद तो सर व्हाट डिड दे बिलीव मतलब उनका कोई व्हाट डिड दे थिंक कि उनके वो कैसे डिस्ट्रॉय हुई और उसके बारे में कि उन्होंने से कुछ लेसन नहीं लिया तो अल्लाह ने जब कोट भी किया तो सर उनके बारे में क्या था
So, I mean, they just thought it was a plain case of life and death. Nations rise to prominence, they die away, they are destroyed by various disasters. So they don't see the hand of God always behind it. It's like a natural thing for them, nations, and that is why that was one of the reasons that had led them to polytheism. When they saw that these natural disasters are there, which destroy people, they said they need some help from other deities who could give them refuge. This exactly was one of the reasons that led them to polytheism. So it was not a moral law that they knew that was governing the rise and fall of nations. Some of them said, as we find in the Quran, yuhlikuna dahar, which means that the time itself kills them, which means that there is a time for a nation to reach maturity, it rises and then it just dies away, the way human beings are. So they never thought it was governed by a moral law.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. I think we can proceed on to the literal and idiomatic translation.
Okay, so starting off with our literal and idiomatic translation, verse number 1. Alhamdulillah, gratitude is for God. Allazi who khalaqa, created, as-samawat, the heavens, wa, and al-ard, the earth, wa, and ja'ala, and made, az-zulumat, darkness, wa, and an-nur, light. So the idiomatic translation would be that gratitude is for God who created the heavens and created the earth and who made the darkness and who made the light. And the word zulumat, you can see, is in the plural. It's not a singular word. So it's like saying darknesses, because the word darknesses, the plural, does not exist in the English language. So what has to be understood is that at times in the Arabic language, what happens is that a plural also connotes vastness of something. It's not always the number that increases in a plural. Many a time it's just the vastness of something. So when the singular is zulma. Zulma would mean darkness, but zulumat means layers of darkness, or maybe expansive darkness, something which is very vast. So this is a very common feature of the Arabic of the Quran, that the plural is not always used to imply that the number has increased from one to many. It also, another example that comes to mind is Al-Alameen. So if you look at Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, people normally translate this as the Lord of the worlds, whereas its Alameen is not implied in the sense that people generally think. It is basically implying the vastness of this world. The Lord who is the Lord of the vastness of this world, which means every nook and corner is in his authority. So in the Arabic language, a plural also denotes vastness, and that is precisely what has happened here with zulumat. Summa allazina kafaru bi rabbihim ya'dilun. Summa, then, allazina, who, kafaru, disbelieved, bi rabbihim, with their Lord, ya'dilun, set up deities. So summa allazina kafaru would mean then those who disbelieved, they actually set up deities with God. They set up partners with God. So allazina kafaru bi rabbihim ya'dilun would mean those who have disbelieved, they have set up partners with God. Huwa allazi, huwa, he, allazi, who, he who, khalakakum, created you, min teen, from clay. It is he who has created you from clay. Thumma, after that, qadha, ordained, ajala, a term. So it is he who has created you from clay, and then he has ordained a time or a time period for your existence. And then they said, wa ajalum musamma indahu, wa, and ajalun, a time, musamma, fixed, indahu, with him, which means that there is another time also which is fixed with him. So there is a time that you'll spend in this world, and then there's another time that you're going to spend with him, and that also is an ajal. That's also a time period, and musamma, it's fixed, indahu, with him. Summa, then, antum, you, tamtarun, you are engaged in quibbling, or you are engaged in raising frivolous questions. Tamtarun is referring to this very fact. Wa, and, huwa, he, Allah, God. Wa huwa Allah would mean it is God, fis samawat, in the heavens. Wa, and, fi, in, al-ard, in the earth. So it is he who is the God of the heavens and the earth, or the very God who is in the heavens and the earth. Ya'lamu, he knows, sirrakum, what you hide, wa jahrakum, what you reveal. So he knows what you hide and what you reveal. Wa, and, ya'lamu, he knows, ma, what, taksibu, you earn. So he knows what you hide, and he knows what you reveal, and he knows what you earn. Wa, and, ma, whatever, ta'tihim, comes to them, min ayatin, amongst the signs, min, from, ayat, signs, rabbihim, of their Lord. So whatever sign from amongst the signs of their Lord comes to them, what happens? Illa kanu, except if, kanu, they, anha, from it, mu'rizeen, they become indifferent to it. So whatever sign comes to these people from amongst the signs of God, it happens that they become negligent to it. They become averse to it. So such are these signs. وَمَا تَأْتِيهِمْ. So if we retranslate it, I would just correct myself by saying that actually ma here is is negating something, and illa is affirming something. So that would be, no sign comes to them from their Lord, except that whatever comes to them, they they show aversion to it. I mean, this is a little more technical, but literally you have to understand that it means وَمَا تَأْتِيهِمْ, and not comes to them any sign from their Lord, except that they start evading it. So everything that comes to it, they start evading it. That is what is implied, but it is said in a way that is very specific to the Arabic language. فَقَدْ, indeed, كَذَّبُوا, they denied, بِالْحَقِّ, the truth, lamma, when, ja'ahum, it came to them. And they denied the truth when it came to them. Of course, we have just discussed the word al-haq here refers to the Quran. So they denied the Quran when it came to them. Fa, therefore, sawfa, soon, ya'tihim, comes to them, amba'u, the news, ma kanu bihi yastahzi'un, of that which they have been making fun of. So very soon the news of what they have been making fun of will reach them. Of course, implying the fact that they are making fun of something, then the consequence of that fun is going to happen very soon as well. Alam, is it not? Yarau, is it not that they have seen? So yarau means they have seen. Alam yarau, have they not seen? Come, how many? Ahlakna, we have destroyed. Min qablihim, before them. Min qarnin, from among nations. Makkannahum, whom we gave authority. Fil ard, in the land. So, do they not see how many nations we have destroyed before them, who we gave authority in the land? Ma'lam numakkin lakum, such authority that was not given to you. Ma'lam, not given, numakkin, to you. Numakkin lakum. So, they were given such authority that was not given to you, which means that they were given more authority, they were more powerful. But still, they were destroyed because of their rebelliousness. Wa arsalna sama. Arsalna, we sent down. As-sama, the way the words as-sama is used, it also refers to the sky, and it also refers to rain in the Arabic language. Arsalna sama would mean, and we sent rain, alayhim, upon them. Midrara, so midrara would mean bursting, something which is, which is great in expanse. So it's like a rainstorm. So arsalna sama alayhim midrara would mean that we sent on them a rainstorm. Wa, and ja'alna, made, al-anhar, rivers, tajri, flow, min tahtihim, below them, and we made the rivers flow before them. Fa, therefore, ahlaknahum, we destroyed them. Bizunubihim, because of their sins. So zunub is the plural of zamb, and zamb of course is referring to sin. So we destroyed them because of their sins. Wa, and ansha'na, we made, min ba'dihim, after them, qarnan, nation, akharin, others. So we destroyed them because of their sins, and then we raised other nations after them. Wa law nazzalna alayka kitaba. Wa, if law we nazzalna, revealed, alayka, on you, kitaba, a book, fi kirtasin, on a paper, falamasuhu, and they would have touched it, bi aydihim, with their hands. So, if we had revealed to you a book, O Prophet, written, and they were able to touch that written book or written piece of paper with their hands, laqala allazina kafaru. Laqala, indeed, they would say, allazina, who, kafaru, disbelieved. So, indeed, those who disbelieved would say, in, not, haza, this, illa, except, sihrun, magic, mubin, evident. So, even if we would have sent down a book written and they would have touched it with their hands, those who have disbelieved would have said, in haza, it is only, in haza illa sihru mubin, it is only plain magic. So they would have even denied that. Wa, and qalu, they said, lawla, why not, unzila, sent down, alayhi, to him, malak, an angel. So they said, why is an angel not sent down to him? Wa, and law, anzalna, had we sent down, malakan, an angel, la quziyal amr, the matter would have been decided. Quziya, decided, amr, matter. Thumma, then, la, not, yunzarun, they would have been given this respite. So had we sent down an angel, the matter would have been decided, and then they would not have been given any respite. Wa, and law, if, ja'alnahu, we would have made him malaka. If we would have made him an angel, la ja'alnahu, we would have made him rajulan, a human being. So even if we would have made him an angel, even if we would have made the Prophet an angel, even then, because of the fact that they cannot see angels, we would have sent down the angel in the garb of a human being. La ja'alnahu rajula, we would have made him a human being. And wa, and lalabasna alayhim, it would have been confounded upon them, ma yalbisun, what confoundment they have been doing. So even if this would have happened, that the Prophet would have been made an angel, even then that angel would have been sent down as a human being, and therefore whatever has been confounded them, it would have continued to confound them, because that would still be the case, that they are facing a human being in the form of an angel. Wa, and laqad, indeed, ustuhzi'a has been made, has been made fun of, the rusulim of the messengers min qablika, before you, and وَلَقَدْ اسْتُهْزِئَ بِرُسُلٍ مِّن قَبْلِكَ, and messengers before you have been made fun of. فَحَاقَ بِالَّذِينَ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُمْ. فَحَاقَ بِالَّذِينَ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُمْ would mean, so فَحَاقَ is surrounded them, بِالَّذِينَ those who, سَخِرُوا مِنْهُمْ made fun of, مَا كَانُوا that bihi يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ they were making fun of. So the thing that they were making fun of, they would have been surrounded by that very thing. فَحَاقَ بِالَّذِينَ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُمْ. So what is being said of, that these people will be surrounded by what they would make fun of. فَحَاقَ بِالَّذِينَ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُمْ. So surrounded those people who made fun of, مَا كَانُوا بِهِ يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ, of about which they were making fun of. So the people who were making fun of will be surrounded by the consequences of their making fun. That is what is implied. So it is like saying that they were mocking something and their mockery actually led them to an evil fate. So this is said in a very specific Arabic style. فَحَاقَ بِالَّذِينَ سَخِرُوا. قُلْ, tell them, siru, roam about, fi, in, al-ard, the land. Tell them, roam about in the land. Summa, then, unzuru, look, kaifa, how, kana, is, aqiba, the fate, al-mukazzibin, who rejected. So tell them to roam about in the land and then see what was the fate of those people who had rejected. Qul, ask them, liman, for whom, ma, that, fi, in, as-samawat, the heavens, wa, and, al-ard, the earth. So ask them, to whom belongs that is between the heavens and the earth. All that is between the heavens and the earth, to whom belongs those things? That is the question. Qul, say, to God alone, lillah, only to God. Kataba ala, made compulsory. He has made compulsory. Nafsihi, upon himself. Ar-Rahma, mercy. So God has made mercy compulsory upon his own self. And the result of this is, la yajma'annakum, he shall definitely gather you, ila, towards Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of judgment, la, not raib, doubt, fihi, in it. So he is going to definitely gather you towards the day of judgment, about which there is no doubt. La raiba fihi, about which there is no doubt. Allazina, those who, khasiru anfusahum. So those who have inflicted themselves with loss. Khasiru anfusahum, those who have inflicted themselves with loss. Fa, therefore, whom they, la, not yu'minun, believe in it. So only those who have inflicted themselves with loss are the ones who are not going to believe in it or believe in the Quran. Wa, and, lahu, for him, ma, that, sakana, stops, fi, in, al-layl, at night, wa, and, an-nahar, in the day. Of course, the opposite clause is suppressed here, which means what moves in the day. So ma sakana fil layl would mean what stays stationed in the night, and ma taharraka fil nahar, and what actually moves in the day. So this is a very common Arabic style, that the opposite clause is often suppressed, as is the case here. So it's not that what is being said here is sakana fil layl and sakana fil nahar, what is stationed in the day and stationed in the, at the night. What is implied is what is stationed at night and what moves in the day, because that is how things are. At night they become stationary, and in the day they start moving. Wan nahar, of course, the day. Wa, and, huwa, he, as-sami, listens, al-alim, knows all. And indeed he is someone who hears all and who knows all. So with this we come to an end to the literal and idiomatic translation as well. Now you can raise questions about the passage, or in the absence of such questions, of course, we can move towards the general questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. The first question asks, is related to verse 12, and it asks, what does Allah mean by his decreed mercy upon himself?
It means that on the day of judgment is the manifestation of God's mercy. It is because that mercy is going to manifest itself completely and perfectly on the day of judgment that he is going to create that judgment. Because this world has been created as a trial and a test. So His mercy does not always manifest itself, because people are given the respite to do whatever they like. At times they are punished, at times they are not. Because of the fact in this world His mercy does not manifest itself the way we would like it to manifest itself. So we have misery in this world as well. We have trials, we have adversities, we have so many problems, because this world is a trial. But because God has made mercy compulsory upon Himself, so for that He has created another world in which He will show His complete mercy. Because that world is not going to be based on trial and test. That world is going to be based on reward or punishment. And His mercy is going to manifest on that day by rewarding people for what they did and by punishing people for what they did wrongly.
Thank you very much. So in the context of Katab Allah, does that mean that He's made it compulsory for Himself?
Yeah. I mean, it's just an expression of the Arabic language which says that His mercy is going to, His perfect mercy is going to manifest itself on the day of judgment. Or in other words, the day of judgment is going to happen so that He can show His mercy, His complete mercy. Why? Because in this world, His mercy was, it was seen in a different shadow, on a different scale. Sometimes He would be merciful, and at other times He would give respite to people. So He has created the day of judgment so that His mercy could manifest. Or in other words, the day of judgment is something that is going to, actually rise out of His mercy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, why is haqq translated in the Quran as it may be taken in totality, including Quran, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's personality, his reasonings, routines, etc.?
So this is a common happening in every language. We use one single word and it has different connotations. And the best way to judge or gauge those connotations is to look at the context. So at times the word al-haq is used for the truth in its true sense, in its absolute sense. At times the word al-haq is used for God Himself. At times the word al-haq is used for the Quran. And the context is something that readily suggests it. So, and this is something that happens in every language. The word is one, it has different meanings, and the context determines the meaning in which it is used.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, the ajala, does that mean a fixed period?
Ajala means period. Ajal musamma means fixed period.
Thank you. I had a question and related to like the entire context of this, how Allah says that, the non-believers, they're denying the truth despite, like, no matter what He would have sent, basically, they would still find a way to deny it. But, like, I think about it, like, if we were currently in the time of the Prophet and we knew that there was going to be a hereafter, how could anyone find it in their hearts to deny Allah and His message? Like, it just doesn't seem reasonable when you know that you have a life of forever waiting for you with proof from the Prophet.
So you see, what happens is that when you have a weak faith or you don't have complete conviction because of various reasons, then you invent various excuses. Either you say that there is not going to be any hereafter, or you say that if there is any hereafter, then the way they have succeeded in this world, they'll have the same success. But how else would things proceed? Because if success is something that has been given to them in this world, it means that they are doing something good. So why would not this continue? Similarly, they would also believe that if anything is amiss, then there would be other intercessors for them who would, intercede for them and win for them paradise. So you see all these at times conflicting and at times self-assuring notions were there in their minds, and that is how they behaved.
Did they not listen like properly to the ayahs where Allah denies like there won't be anyone to help them on the day of judgment? Or
So you see, for such ayahs, such verses, they always thought that they had their deities. So they regarded the angels to be the daughters of God. And they thought that if they would please these angels, then whatever they would like, they will win that place over for them. That is how intercession, that is how polytheism, that is how so many other notions came into being, because they did not have a clear concept of God and it was a crooked concept. So in order to justify that, or in order to circumvent anything that would befall them, they would either say that, well, the fire would just touch them for a few days. Lan tamassana naru illa ayyaman ma'duda. That is what the Jews said, for example. If ever there is going to be some punishment for them, it's going to be very brief. And so these false notions were the ones that they had in their minds, and the Quran actually precisely did clear these notions. And that is why we find so many discussions in the Quran that relate to their own mental confusions. And the Quran has cleared all of them and left them with no excuse. So all these excuses or maybe reasoning that they were offering were clarified by the Quran in such a conclusive way that they were speechless. They had no answer to it.
Because Allah brought angels in the for previous nations to punish them, why deny bringing the nations at this point in time during Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam?
I mean, does not make sense to me, the question. I mean, you see, I've already explained this, that angels or other elements of nature destroyed people only in the prophetic era. They're not going to do this in the post-prophetic era, because for that a prophet's presence is essential. The truth is delivered in its ultimate form. People are left with no excuse. But in the post-prophetic era, truth is not always absolutely clear. People still have confusions. Only the personality of the prophet removes that confusions. And that is why their fate is decided in this world whenever a prophet of God is there. But in the absence of a prophet of God, destruction cannot take place, because people are still, they might be having a legitimate excuse. And that is why their account is deferred to the day of judgment. So that is for people who live in the post-prophetic era.
I think they're saying, why not bring angels during Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time, like during his lifetime.
And what will happen then?
They wrote
What
no
for?
demand for angels by Quraysh.
You see, that is what the Quran is telling them, that even if this would have happened, because they were bent upon denial, they would not have accepted that. And the other thing that has been said here is that even if angels were to be sent down, they would have been sent down in the form of human beings, because angels are inobservable to the human eye. So had God decided to fulfill their demand, he would have sent angels, but not in their original form, but in the form of human beings. So that is precisely what happened when angels came to Mary. So they were in human form.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. What does the word tamtirun means?
Quibbling. To start doing, raising doubts or hair splitting, being inflicted with all sorts of doubts and confusions, or creating unnecessary doubts and confusion.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Ruhi Rasul, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
Sir, my question is about line number 10.
Okay.
Does it mean that the people who were deniers and they would make fun of the messengers of God, and they would before Hazur Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they would be enveloped by a punishment in which they themselves would be made they would be mocked at that time.
No, that's not what is implied here. It is said that they are making fun of something, and whatever they are making fun of is punishment, of course. So now they will be surrounded by the very thing that they are making fun of, which is punishment. So you see, in simple terms, they were making fun of the fact that how can punishment come to them? How can they be punished? So they were making fun of this. The Quran is telling them that this very making fun of, their habit of making fun of, or this mockery, is going to have a telling effect on them, and they will be facing the consequences of this mockery, which means that they were making fun of this punishment, and that punishment is going to come to them. So that is what is being implied here. Whatever they were making fun of is going to land upon them.
Doesn't that mean that they would be mocked at?
No, it does not mean that. Because you see, they were not mocking at anything plainly, they were mocking at the punishment. So the Quran is telling them that what they are mocking at is going to surround them.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a question that asks, why were miracles that were seen in the times of the older prophets not revealed during Prophet Muhammad's time?
Because the Quran is the greatest miracle that the Prophet left for us. It's an abiding miracle. You see, different sorts of miracles have been given to different prophets. And because of the fact that we might think that a particular miracle which was given to a particular prophet can only be classified as a miracle, we think that other prophets were not. So you see, each and every prophet was given his own share of miracles, I would say, and some of them had very good reasoning powers. Others had, like the prophet, he had the Quran. To Moses, of course, God spoke. And then, of course, we know that Jesus had something very special to him. He could raise the dead. He could bring back the dead to life. He could give life to birds, as has been described in the Quran. So it's just a question of the nature of those miracles.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Sir Faraz Ahmed, please go ahead.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Sab. Can I ask question from Surah Nisa, ayat number 157?
Yes, sure.
Just I would like to clarify that in that ayah, it was mentioned that he didn't kill or neither crucified, but made it doubtful. And then he raised, but the word Rafa is used over there, but the death is not mentioned. So those who do not believe that he had died, rather he believed that the second coming of Hazrat Isa, that people present this eye. How you can explain it?
Oh, well, this has not been, I don't need to explain it. The people have done this before me several times, because you see, you have to interpret this verse in the light of Surah Al-Imran. The 51st verse of Surah Al-Imran says, Inni mutawaffika wa rafi'uka ilayya. So the word Rafa is used there as well. And we have to understand this portion of Surah Nisa in the light of Surah Al-Imran. When it says rafi'uka ilayya, of course, because at other instances we know rafi'uka ilayya means we will give death to him and then lift his dead body. So that has been explained by the Quran itself. But because people who have this view, they do not interpret the word mutawaffika as giving death. So they are confounded by the fact, because in Surah Nisa, in Surah Al-Imran, where it is said, Inni mutawaffika wa rafi'uka ilayya, they think that the word mutawaffika does not connote death. They say that he'll be taken alive, he'll be taken in full. So they give a different meaning to mutawaffika in Surah Al-Imran, and that is how they make sense of it. Otherwise, the Quran is absolutely clear. In Surah Al-Imran, it says, Mutawaffika wa rafi'uka ilayya. Tawaffa is a very common word for death. We will give you death and then lift you up. That is precisely what is done here as well in Surah Nisa, only that the word death is not mentioned. Because as we know that the Quran explains itself at other occasions.
But then Dr. he mentioned that where he died and where is his grave and what happened.
We have no knowledge of that, because you see, apparently God lifted up his dead body, because had it come into their excess, they might have disfigured it, mutilated it, or dishonored it. So that is what the Jews were after, the Romans were after actually. So all that we know is that God gave death to him. He was maybe buried somewhere, maybe his corpse was lifted and taken away by the angels and done away with. We don't have knowledge of that. All that we know is that he was given death, and his dead body was not in the excess of his killers or intended killers who were after him.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. That was it for all the topic-related questions. Shall we move on to non-topic, off-topic questions?
Okay.
From last week's class, there was the question of Ayah 114, Surah Al-Ma'idah, which was, what did وَآخَرِينَ refers
Yes,
to?
I remember that. Okay. That's good that you reminded me. So, the answer was very simple. Later on, I just realized Takunu lana awwalina wa akhirina actually means for the people who are our first and the people who are our last. So the first are the ones who are themselves. So Jesus was telling them that it could become a means of reminder for his own generation and for the akhirin who would come after him. So the awwalina is referring to his own generation or people who were there. For them it would become a reminder because it would be revealed, the Ma'idah would be revealed before them. And for people who would come after him, or after that period, it will also become a reminder, because obviously we know that news would travel to later period as well. So the Awwalina is actually referring to his own generation of people.
Thank you for that explanation, Dr. Saleem. Shabnam, please go ahead.
जी थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू फॉर दैट क्लियर। सर अभी मुझे पूछना था, इसी तरह मैंने आपसे सूरह नजम का एक क्वेश्चन किया था, तो उसमें जन्नतुल मावा का जिक्र आया था। सर आपने कुछ कहा कि गालिबन नेक रूहों को मतलब वहां रखा जाता है। सर वो बरज़ख का कोई हिस्सा है?
I mean, we don't know whether it's barzakh or not. All that we know, it's a temporary residing place. When people who are pious, who are righteous, their souls are claimed by the angels. So before they are put to sleep, they reside in some small period of time in that Jannatul Ma'wa. That's a temporary resting place, just to reassure them and tell them that for them, this is the ultimate place of resting when they will be raised to life and then consigned to paradise. So it's like a temporary resting place, and it's like a glad tiding or a good news given to them just after their death.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks if it's okay to learn the Quranic chapters in their reverse orders, because starting from the back with shorter surahs is easier.
Oh yes, that's absolutely fine. I mean, as long as you're learning it or memorizing it, that is fine.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sahab.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Dr. Sahab, I wanted to ask you about artificial insemination, and how does Islam look at that? If a woman is not able to create eggs, is it permissible that another woman's egg can be placed inside her body and she can be impregnated so that she can be a mother? And on the other side as well, if a man is not creating sperm, is it allowed that another man's sperm from a donor can be placed inside a woman's body so that the husband and wife can be parents?
So you see, the husband and wife can only be parents if the ovum and the sperm belongs to them. If there is a third person, then either the mother is not going to be the real mother because she's not the biological mother now, or the father is not going to be the biological father. So for a child to be born, it has to be born through wedlock, and the wedlock is between the people who got married. The biological mother or father who comes into play in the case of artificial insemination, or in some cases of surrogacy, creates this imbroglio, this question that now we have either two fathers or two mothers, and one of them, the one that is responsible for the birth of the child, is not wedded to the spouse. So I personally think that this is such a thing that would actually disallow it. The only thing that, or the only form of surrogacy that seems to be fine, is that in which the sperm and the ovum is from the of course the husband and wife, but a third person is employed, or a third mother, I would say, or a second mother, so to speak, is employed, in which the fetus is kept and nurtured in her womb. And in that case, all that she's doing is she's providing nourishment, because the ovum and the sperm are of the same husband and wife. So they don't have the wife does not have the ability to nourish it. So it has been placed in a place or a receptacle where it is nourished. And in that case, if we regard it to be analogous to, for example, fosterage, in which a foster mother cares for a child which is born to another couple, in a very similar way, a foster mother can care for a child but that is placed in her womb, but then it has to be from the same husband and wife. So I think this is very important, that the child has to be born from wedlock. It is because of this that our religion wants the biological father and the mother to be the same. Otherwise, out of wedlock, issues will start to arise, and that is going to create a lot of complication.
No, so my question was, I will try and explain it better. For example, there is already a husband and wife, they are married to each other. And then after marriage, they realize that maybe they have some biological issues for which obviously they have not done any fault of their own. Does Islam allow, for example, if a man is...
That is what I've answered, my dear. That is precisely what I've answered. I've already answered that. I mean, the sperm and the ovum has to be from those two. And if there is some defect, then this has to be taken as a trial from God. You cannot induct the sperm or ovum of a third person. If you do that, that's precisely what I was explaining. you'll be making a different biological parent. A parent would not be wedded but would be biological.
I see. So, sir, what if like I know that in Pakistan it's not so, but in the West, for example, there are sperm banks where you are not told the identity of where the sperm is coming from, and so what happens, in that case where you do not know who the biological father is, but you still can have a child?
I mean, how will you have a child? In that case, the father would be an absentia father, a father who is not there. You'll have a single parent, you'll have a single mother, and a child born out of wedlock. All these complications would be there. That's equally the case with ovum banks. It's just as we have sperm banks, we can have ovum banks also, if that is a possibility. Again, the complexity would arise that you'll have a single parent whose child will be born out of wedlock.
I see. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, is staying apolitical all right if we're focusing on learning the Quran? Politics can sometimes disrupt our focus. So if it's all right and we want to be good judges and make good judgment of our fellow human beings, could we stay apolitical?
I don't get the question. I mean, what is learning the Quran got to do to remain apolitical? I mean, apolitical is a option that you always have. You have an option. And learning the Quran is an entirely different thing. How are the two related?
It might be that politics takes up too much like mental energy, and so you don't have enough left for learning Islam.
I don't think this is the right approach. I mean, you always have your basic needs you need to fulfill. Do you have time to eat? You have time to sleep? If that is the case, you should have time to learn God's guidance as well, because that's like a basic necessity.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. I think the previous questioner was, now that I read the question more carefully, they're trying to say that politics can make you judge other people based on their beliefs. So if you can remain apolitical, you will not be judging others and hence focus better on learning the Quran.
I think this is just a question of your personal choice. You can do both. I don't think that it's got anything to interfere if you're learning the Quran. That's something that you should always do. To remain apolitical is a choice that you still have. And that, I mean, again, is something, when you are making a choice, you're not judging people. You see, when you're electing someone, you're giving a relative preference to two candidates. So that's not that in which that you're judging their hereafter, or you're making a value judgment. All that you're doing is that you have 2 or 3 candidates and they have their manifestos, and you're trying to make sense that which is the person who's going to serve them better. So that's a question more of your analysis. You're not judging them in the wrong sense. The judgment that we are not allowed to make is something else. This is a judgment that you make regarding your career, regarding your spouse, regarding a son-in-law or a daughter-in-law that you might like to bring home. So these are not value judgments. These are basically preferential choices that you make in life. And that is what you do in politics as well.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Shabnam, please go ahead.
जी मरियम, सर आई वाज वॉन्डरिंग, मेरा दिल चाह रहा था मैं आपसे पूछूं सर, लास्ट डेज में कराची में एक मदर मिल्क बैंक कायम किया गया था, लाइक ब्लड बैंक, तो सर इसके ऊपर
Blood bank
सर
or
आपका
sperm
क्या?
bank?
नहीं सर, मदर मिल्क
Milk bank. That was
जहाँ
another
पे
thing. That was milk bank.
जी सर मिल्क बैंक, तो सर वो उससे भी तो बहुत सारे इश्यूज क्रिएट होते हैं रजाई रिश्तों के, तो सर व्हाट डू यू थिंक?
I think, I mean, this should be, thought of in a more careful way, because it has its own complications. For example, if the mother is unknown and she's there in some part of the world, that mother would be, of course, called the foster mother. So that is a question. However, I think if the mother is known and the milk is made available for someone, I don't see any problem with that. Because now you have a known mother, she's like a known foster mother, and why shouldn't this be the case that whenever a mother would like to donate her milk to a milk bank, she can do it by name, and that would make things clear. But in the absence of that, I mean, just a question, there is just I would say, a chance that I mean, the milk has been used and the child becomes your foster child, and then when something else happens, and for example, the mother's own children, the foster mother's children, because they become brothers and sisters and they cannot get married with the foster children as well. I mean, there's always a chance that if that happens, although it's very, very far-fetched. So I think if milk banks have to be created, perhaps if the identity of the mother is known, and then she is declared a foster mother as a result, it seems to me to be pretty okay.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Related to that milk bank question, this is my question. If you're just getting milk for like a little bit, or like, once or twice per mom, does that still create that fosterage relationship?
It does not. It does not create. You see, fosterage means that you intend to feed a baby with your milk and nourish it. It's not a chance happening. It's not something that you do to pacify a crying baby. That does not create any relationship of fosterage. Foster parents are parents, or foster mothers are mothers, who, with the will and intention, they are adopting a child, or they are, bringing home a child, or maybe feeding a child for the purpose of feeding the way mothers feed their child. So that is a complete plan. It's a strategy. It's a strong will and intent. In the absence of that, a couple of drops here and there, or maybe as people do, that babies are crying and at times they just pacify those babies by making a mother suckle the child. That does not create any fosterage.
Right. So then that wouldn't raise any problems for future
They
life.
would not. No.
Thank you. Any more questions? We have another 10 minutes remaining. Okay. This question asks, what is the English translation of Quran that appeals to you the most? If you could please.
So the translation that I really find very moving is by an Iraqi Jew. You would be surprised to know that. So he has exceptionally good command of the Arabic as well as the English language. His name is N.J. Dawood. N.J. Dawood, and you'll find it published at Amazon under Penguin Classics. It's a fantastic translation.
जी सर, हिस्टोरिक नौयत का क्वेश्चन है सर। हिस्ट्री के बुक्स में हमें अक्सर मिलता है कि उम्महातिल मोमिनीन के छोटे छोटे हुज्रे थे, वन रूम पे कंसिस्ट होते थे। तो सर बहुत दफा ख्याल आता है कि हाउ डिड दे मैनेज देयर प्रिवेसी, लाइक गेस्ट आते थे, बाज़ औक़ात रात को स्टे भी करते थे अगर उनके रिलेटिव्स होते थे। तो अब जैसे हमें मिलता है हदीस की बुक में कि कुछ लोगों ने हजूर की रात की रूटीन, उनकी इबादत देखने के लिए स्पेशली स्टे किया बहाने से। तो सर वो हमें कुछ पता है कि वो कैसे हैंडल करते थे सब कुछ?
So basically these were like small tents that were set up, and they were very close and adjacent almost to the Masjid al-Nabawi. So they were like in proximity and adjacent to them and quite close to them. And don't think of these tents as small structures. They were fairly large tents in which, they might have internal partitions, so to speak. We can only imagine that. Otherwise, a whole tent was like a small living space for an individual.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. There is another question that asks, in Surah Al-Ahzab, what does Ahl al-Bayt mean? Does that include wives? Because wives have been addressed in the verses before that.
That actually is addressing just the wives. That is precisely what is the connotation there. And the verse before that tells us that the wives are being addressed. Not even the children of the Prophet are addressed, or his household. So, Ahl al-Bayt yutahhirakum tathira, as the verse goes, tells them that these hypocrites have decided to besmear your characters, and God, on the other hand, has decided to purify your characters. So remember, in Surah Ahzab, the theme is that these munafiqun, or the hypocrites, they wanted to scandalize the personal lives of the Prophet, and in this way they wanted to bring him down in the eyes of the common man. So this was a strategy that they had adopted, because they knew that they were not being able to defeat the Prophet in war and on other fronts. So a strategy that they had adopted was to scandalize his private lives and to scandalize the life of his wives as well. So, in response to that, a number of directives were revealed. Amongst them was that the women of the household of the Prophet should stay put in their home. They should not go out except on telling occasions. They should not admit strangers to their, or people who would like to barge into them are not allowed to be there. They should not talk to them in a fresh tone, in a soft tone. So all these directives were given to the wives of the Prophet. And then it was said that these people or these hypocrites want to besmear you with impurity. And on the other hand, Ya Ahlul Bayt, or wives of the Prophet, God on the other hand wants to purify you. And that is why He's given you these directives, so that they are not given a chance to scandalize your life.
Thank you for the clarification, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks if there are any Arab scholars that are close to the interpretation of the Farahi school of thought.
Not that I know of.
Are there any that you like their works that you?
So there are. So if you look at the Indian subcontinent, you'll see scholars in India. Some of them are at Aligarh, some of them are in Madrasatul Islah. So we'll find good scholars in India. And yes, I mean, all that we need to do is follow them with a critical eye. I've seen many good points that have been raised with them. Altaf Azmi is one of them. Abu Sufyan Islahi is another. We have other scholars as well, and they're churning out young scholars every year. Remember, so these are proper seminaries.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, can you please elaborate in more details about people who are born Muslims and yet they fall in the category of shirk? Is it true that these people will enter the hell in lower levels than Iblis?
Oh, I think we have to understand that the punishment of polytheism, which is mentioned in the Quran, that is unforgivable, is a punishment in which you deliberately associate partners with God. Deliberate association. You know that God does not have a partner and you still insist on that. That is the punishment. People who fall into polytheism, people who accidentally, because of a lack of knowledge or maybe a wrong perception or maybe a misguidance from some elder, if they do so, that is not something that's going to forebode for them the eternal punishment of hell. That's like a sin that would be counted amongst other sins.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Did the Prophet have other daughters other than Fatima, and were they married?
Yes, we have. We know that. Ruqayya, Umm Kulthum, Zainab, there were other daughters as well, and some of them were married as well.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. That was it for all the questions. Oh, we just got a raised hand. Last question. That's all the time we have for today. Ahmed, please go ahead.
थैंक यू मरियम सॉरी सर मैंने सवाल किया था मैंने पूछना चाह रहा था कोई स्कॉलर जो अरब वर्ल्ड से जिनको आप अप्रिशिएट करते हो या फिर फराही स्कूल ऑफ थॉट के करीब हो
I don't find anyone there which follows the Farahi school. Mostly they are Salafis, they follow, you see, you have to understand that the nature of scholarship in Arab, not only in Arabia, but in Egypt, in Syria, in Tunisia, some of the other countries, is not Quran-based scholarship per se. It's again the same school of thought that we call the Rawaya-based scholarship, in which you basically interpret the Quran through hadith or history. So that is what dominates the Muslim world. And that is unfortunately the case in Arabia as well. You don't find scholars of the Quran. They are mostly scholars who interpret the Quran not through the Quran itself, but through hadith literature.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Last very quick question. Are there any descendants of Quraysh in these times?
They could be. I mean, there are people who claim to be, and they need to go to websites and check their ancestry, I would say. But certainly there are people who claim, and they say they are, for example, the 40th or the 50th generation from the prophets or from the Quraysh. So, I mean, that's what they claim. I cannot ratify the claim. And of course, if that is something that is being handed down to them from their own ancestors, it could be very true.
And none from Prophet Muhammad's family, though, right?
I mean, from his family, of course, there could always be a possibility because, his daughter Fatima, when she gave birth to Hassan and Hussein, so they have their own progeny, but we don't know. They've been lost in posterity. But we cannot rule them out.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem, for another very informative session and for answering all the questions.